Well, it's interesting because as Mitzi said it, I thought, yeah, that's something that I'm really interested in. I think there's a class structure, for want of a better description, in philanthropy, and there is a sense that there's some philanthropists are more important than others, and I challenge that. I think the gifting circle is fantastic, but I don't think we're actually gifting. I think we're investing, and I just wanted to tweak that narrative a bit, because if you start to see yourself as invested in the community, as invested in the way we create who we are, that is the sounds of our time, the way we look, the way we feel, all those aesthetic things, which are very hard to put, to say how that actually changes us. And that's another question that might come up around social impact and investment and outcomes from that. But gifting, I think, just doesn't give it the power that it needs to have. You are investing, I think anyhow, I'll say that. We are investing in who we are. And I'd like to think through that narrative a bit, because patrons, again, it's another word that sort of makes you feel that perhaps they're more important, they've got more money or therefore more power, and possibly that was the case in centuries up till now, as we share things differently. But I do want to stress, together we're stronger than we are apart. And it's about the collective nature of trusting and being together. And it is about investing in that and committing to that. And that's what made patronage so important in previous centuries. They were part of the power structure, they were invested in it, and they created the outcomes of the music that we've got now and the films we've seen and all those kinds of things. So I think it's time in a democratic space for us all to recognise that we are together and we are strong and we're incredibly powerful, and it's more than a gift.
That's lovely, more than a gift. Over to you, Mitzi.
Well, yeah, I guess there's a few ways that, there are a few things that come to mind when you talk about that. I know that I think, I like the gift, I think gifting is important for a range of reasons, but I think if we unpack what you mean by investing and what we mean by gifting, that's probably where we can find. I know that you're talking about investing in culture, and there's got to be a long-term investment in the outcome of something that's not necessarily a financial remuneration, but a cultural remuneration. I know that's what you're talking about, but in the world that we live in, people do expect something in return. And so I think it's important to define whether you're getting a financial return on your investment, or whether you're getting a social return on your investment, or a cultural return, or a kind of ego and narcissistic return on your investment, whatever it might be. I think it is important to distinguish between an investment and a gift, because a gift actually is a very precious thing. It doesn't have to be a very expensive gift. It can be a gift of time, or a gift of advice, or a gift of wisdom, or a gift of a small amount of money. But a gift, a true gift, gives the receiver of that gift a lot of freedom and a lot of trust. And I think then for me it comes back to the relationship, and that's something that can be quite hard to develop on an online crowdfunding platform, unless you're crowdfunding from a whole lot of people that you already know, your friends and family. But the most rewarding fundraising that I've done over the last decade or so has been where I'm really developing relationships with people who have a whole range of reasons for giving to a particular project, or or investing, if you like, if we're going to use that word. But there's no such thing as a philanthropist, in fact, or a donor, or, everyone's got their own motivations and their own passions and their own histories and their own reasons for giving and supporting your project. And the most interesting part of fundraising is actually understanding where someone's coming from and what they care about and what gets them up in the morning and what lights the fire in the belly and if you've got a connection. So it's a bit like dating or, you know, any other kind of relationship building where you're sort of building a kind of sense of understanding of why people are giving to your project. And yes, that's an investment. It's an emotional investment for sure. And I guess the other thing I wanted to say was the collective giving circles where people can enter into the spirit of philanthropy, you know, at a lower level. It might be, you know, $100 or $200 or something that's very affordable. There is great comfort and a lot of fun, I think, when I think people they prefer to give in groups rather than giving alone. I mean, there's a lot of fun in that, and you're sharing something, you're all in it together, you're building something, you're scaling, you're doing this together as a community. And the other very important ingredient is a kind of sense of magic, and I suppose that's what you're talking about when you get involved at the seed funding stage. That's the highest risk stage. And there's a lot of magic when you reach that tipping point and that project happens and you've all taken this big risk together, and it's a lot of fun to get together on a project at that early stage.
I think that's it, but my point is you have to learn how to do this, because magic comes from taking the risk, but taking a risk and pushing it through so that it's not kind of meandering out there. You know, you're really nurturing a project as you might, you know, another kind of startup. That's where the team and the experience comes in. So, yeah, look, I can't argue with you about your definition of a gift, but I think we're on the same page.